All right, let's talk to Coach Vermeil. Dick Vermeil, of course, joins us every single Friday at this time. It's 94 WIP HD1 Philadelphia as we broadcast today away from the Taste of Cake studio. Boy, do we wish we were getting pumped up for a playoff game. Could you imagine how different today's show would be if the Eagles were about to play tomorrow or Sunday? Well, with that said, they're not about to. A lot of teams are, 8 of them. But we're doing a deep dive on the Eagles season, on the press conference from yesterday, and one of the legendary figures in the history of Philadelphia sports, Coach Vermeil, with us every Friday at this time. Coach Vermeil, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Yep.
So, Dick, we'll get to the team itself and the parts and what they should or shouldn't do, but let's just start with the position Howie and Nick were in. You've been in that spot before, probably with less scrutiny because there's such intensity now from the media and social media that was not fully there when you were there. But what's that like to be at the podium when things went bad and you've got to answer those questions? What goes through their minds as they sit there and do all that yesterday?
Well, at first you go into those kind of meetings totally prepared. And you anticipate what's going to be asked. And I'm sure Howie, Nick did this. You know, Howie's been doing this for a long time, and no one's done any better. And Nick's got a lot of experience now, but he hasn't had many experiences of handling this kind of adversity. But I'm sure that first they go in well prepared, and then just be honest. And sometimes you can't be totally honest because there's things you can't say or you shouldn't say because of future plans. But you know, I was in the Napa Valley all week with wine business stuff, so I missed all everything that was going on.
Sure.
Just got home last night.
Well, we don't have to do the deepest dive on the press conference, but let's talk about the team. And again, Coach Vermeil with us right now. So, Dick, one of the things for next year is should they dramatically change the offense or not? Where do you come down on, let's say, Jalen in particular, whether he would flourish if they do West Coast principles much more often, or would you keep it somewhat basic, which is what they've had in recent years, hope to run it more effectively, and kind of bread and butter it the way they did when they won the Super Bowl 12 months ago?
The West Coast runs the ball, you know.
No, I do know that. What do you think, Dick?
I think if they hire an offensive coordinator they have confidence in, they've got to let him do it. I've made those same mistakes, okay? And I think you hire an offensive coordinator and you back him, and the head coach backs him and supports him and supplements different things through the year in regard to his thoughts, but you let him do it. And you've got to hire a guy that comes from a scheme that has proven to be successful, not at just one place, but branched out through the league.
So does backing this new offensive coordinator mean allowing him to bring his own staff in to replace the offensive staff that's here now, Coach?
You know, I didn't believe in that because you're still the boss. You're still the leader. And I didn't believe in that. I hired the offensive coordinator. If he wanted to bring his own staff, then he went to work somewhere else where they allowed him to do that. Okay? Mm-hmm. In every position and all. I didn't have those issues in Calistoga, excuse me, in Philadelphia because we only had 10 guys, and that was the largest staff in football at that time.
So how lame duck does it make a head coach if his guys are no longer there? If this new offensive coordinator brings his coaches, how problematic does that make it for Nick, or do you see that as not an issue?
Well, I saw it as an issue. That's why I didn't do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're the boss, you're the boss. And you're the leader. But, a head coach's leadership responsibilities, at least when I was coaching, went all the way through the entire organization.
So hiring the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, which is not – this is an unusual situation where the defensive coordinator was hired before the head coach.
Yeah, and Dick, I'll say this. I like Sirianni quite a bit. I think he's a great coach. Not everyone agrees with me, but he does not have the juice, and I'm using juice as power, as, for instance, you did or Shula did, or you know what I mean? I mean, Nick Sirianni definitely does not, in my opinion, run things as comprehensively, power-wise, as you had, and that's a different dynamic.
Well, I didn't have that in Kansas City. When you trust the people you're working with, when you trust Howie Roseman, you trust Jeffrey Lurie, it's not a power struggle. You're in it together. You're in it together.
Sure.
And and you have three opinions that are all strong and educated and successful in the past. So I think sometimes that makes it easier on the head coach.
Dick, let's talk about the team and even go back to the game because, of course, we have not spoken with you since the Eagles lost to San Francisco. Can you put into words how frustrating it was to watch this offense from your perspective this year and obviously specifically last week? I mean, it just felt like Groundhog Day. Almost every game structurally felt the same. Sometimes they'd pull it out close. Sometimes they'd lose close. How aggravating was it for you to watch this offense this year?
I don't know if the term aggravating is a good one for me to use. Because, I am not critical of other coaching staffs and schemes and all that stuff. Because if you're not sitting in there studying and preparing like people do, especially Nick and his staff, you don't have the insight. And I've had so much experience. And I've worked with 28 different guys that have been held the title NFL head football coach. And so I've listened to a lot of people and all that kind of stuff. But, there's a lot of things they did I didn't agree with it. And I don't know why they're doing it, why they're not doing this and those kind of things. But when you're winning, like they had been winning, by second guessing it, you bring on your own problems and magnify your own problems because the players start sensing, hey, the head coach doesn't really believe in this either. You know? So it creates your own problems, and I was very sensitive to that. I took over two teams that hadn't won in a long time. So I was used to scrutiny. I was used to handling adversity properly. And I always tried to do a good job of selecting the right kind of people that could help me improve losing records for multiple years. And the easiest job I had to rebuild was in Kansas City. I didn't get it done, okay? Only had 2 winning seasons out of 5 years. And so I don't second-guess coaches as much as maybe some people do, but I don't always agree with them, okay? I didn't always agree with my staff in staff meetings.
Yeah.
But then we would come up with a consensus, or sometimes I'd say, BS, this is the way we're going to do it. Okay?
Right.
Coach, which would you rather have if you had your druthers for this new offensive coordinator pick? Would you rather have a guy who hits it so out of the park in his first year coordinating and calling plays that he gets hired away, like a Kellen Moore? Or would you rather have a guy who doesn't quite have the over-the-top success in his first year, but maybe a little older and a little more secure in sticking around in Philadelphia for multiple years? Which is better for the team?
Well, I don't know if it's possible. Howie knows this better than I do. Is it possible to hire a coordinator and hold it to a 3-year agreement on both sides? On both sides.
I love that.
You have to stay here for 3 years or you're not getting a job. And they're young coordinators. I'm sure most of them would take that, But everybody's looking for, the superstar again, I love the influence of Mike Shanahan. You look at the quarterbacks that have played well through the league, not just in L.A. or not just in San Francisco, but the other places. His influence has helped the quarterback and the offensive coordinator and that team be more successful with the ball in their hands.
The Mike Shanahan thing, that influence, Coach, when I was playing back in the day, I remember my coaches being so fixated with trying to do things like Shanahan did. How did he get that inside zone to look that way? We got to try to do this. Like, there is a lot of that goes on. Some of these coaches really have that kind of pull and influence within the coaching community, and I think that is something that we as fans forget about too.
Yeah, well, they bring a deep insight to a scheme that's been developed all the way since Bill Walsh. Because remember, Shanahan started out with Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
People forget that. That's when I met him, okay? So, and I'm not coached against him a long time. So, but his influence in the league is glaring in regard to offensive schemes and quarterback success and coordinator success, right?
Right.
You know, Coach, this is the part of the interview, and again, Dick Vermeil with us. This is the part every week, Coach, I ask you who's going to win the game on Sunday, and sadly there is no Eagles game on Sunday. But I'll just ask you this, knowing that there's 4 teams left from each conference eligible to be in the Super Bowl, which 2 teams do you think are going to reach Super Bowl 60?
Well, it looks like to me, I've been a Denver guy all year because of their defensive scheme, and their coaching staff and their head coach who's won it before and has always been given credit for being a great offensive football coach. And they haven't produced offensively quite like I expected them to, but that defense, I think it's going to be there on that side. And I'm not always right, I know that, but I would say that it looks like right now Seattle.
Denver, Seattle. Yeah, that'd be the 2-1 seeds. Coach, it's been awesome. Of course, we'll talk to you next week and journey through the playoffs together. A lot of moves still up ahead, who they'll hire for the coordinator and more. Love having you on the show.